Hey, my name's John and welcome to my Metro 6R4 build. And if you haven't seen this before, it's essentially a Porsche boxster with a Metro shell sat on top. And what I'd like to do in this episode is to fit the front end, try and give it a face as such. And to do this, I have gathered up a number of parts, some new old stock, some new, and I've also got one very big problem that I need to overcome. But we'll have a look at that now. Well, initially this episode was going to be about the roll cage. And I've got a lot of stuff gathered up to do that. I've got hardboard and cardboard for templates. I've got angle gauges and level gauges, and I've got tube. But I've come to the conclusion that since it's the July holidays and everywhere's shut down for 2 weeks, it's going to be hard to pull that job off in the next couple of weeks. It could be maybe 3 weeks away till that's done. And I want to do something that I can make a video out of now. And so I've chosen to do the front end, and I've got most of the stuff gathered up to do that. So this is what I've got. Now, as you can see, I've been quite successful here. This is all new old stock Rover parts. Well, this was actually a pattern part, but it won't matter. Most of it's going to be cut away anyway. But as you can see, I do not have a headlight panel for the other side. Now, the story with this is that 3 weeks ago, I actually found one of these on Facebook Marketplace, bought it, paid for it, and it has still not arrived. And I actually spoke to the guy yesterday, and he hasn't sent it, and he wants more money to post it. And I said, yeah, go ahead, and I haven't heard any more since. So I have no idea if it's actually going to come. But for now, I'll have to assume that it is. And then plan for the worst as well. So basically, to get this thing moving, what I'm going to have to do is to make one of these, something vaguely the right shape that is going to allow me to bolt this all together and move forward with the project, because you just can't stop because something hasn't arrived. So I've realised that this is the only bit of steel that I have left here, and since it's the July holidays, again, everywhere's closed, so I can't get any steel. So I'm going to have to try and salvage enough steel out of this bonnet to try and make something. Now, this is a really crude way of doing something, but needs must, and the project's going to go on one way or the other. So well, this is what we'll have to deal with. Now, I've actually also got two radiators here. Now, would you believe that these are actually out of an MG Midget, and we are making an MG Metro 6R4, which I find a bit strange. But these actually turned out to be basically the only thing that I could find which was narrow enough so that I could fit two of them between the two chassis legs, and they're just about the right height. The pipes are even the right size to match with the 25mm pipes of the Boxster, so it's pretty much ideal. I couldn't have actually made anything better for it, and they were only £200 for the pair of them, so it's pretty good. So basically, yeah, on to this problem here. Well, as you can see, what I've done here is made a template out of the original piece and out of paper just, and I've cut this out of the piece of bonnet, the salvage. Now I sanded this down and I put a coat of aerosol primer on it just to make it a wee bit easier to work with. And now I need to go around and clean all these grind lines up, and I need to drill some holes in it, but I don't want to spend too much time on this because hopefully the genuine part will turn up, but this hopefully will do our job for the time being. It's actually not looking too bad, this, and I guess if the original part doesn't come I might actually have to use it, so I might maybe spend a bit more time in this. I'm going to set these two level to the bench and use that to mark the height of this and the height of that fold there, because I think those are the two most important ones in order to get the front end lined up. So hopefully if I can get these right, it should mean that if I do have to change this later, everything should be in the right place. And I need to put a little rounded edge here on it, just round there, so I'll do that too. Well, here's a look at the part, and you know, I've spent that long on this. I actually think I'm quite happy with it. I would nearly be inclined to use this if the other one doesn't come, and the only thing I haven't done is this one here has a lip on the top of it. Okay, I hadn't done this yet. I wasn't actually going to bother because I didn't think I was going to use it, but since It's come this far, may as well go the whole way. So there's a couple of ways you could do this. I think if you had a bead roller, probably would be the best way, and you would use a tipping wheel and you would put a line in it there, and then you would panel beat it up and shrink the metal on the top lip of it. That would probably be the easiest way. The other way you could do it is you could put a block of wood behind it, and you could use a blunt chisel and go around it and break the edge that way. You sort of hammer it in, and it sort of starts a fold, and then you could panel beat it and such. But the way I'm going to do it is, I've done this before and it normally works out quite well. So I've cut 2 bits of steel. Now sometimes I use a bit of wood or something, use whatever, it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to use one in behind, okay, and there'll be one goes in front, okay, and the one in front has a radius ground into it, okay. Now, I haven't spent very long on this, only 5-10 minutes cutting these out. I'm going to use these bolt holes and bolt it together, and I'll use this clamp as well, and that's going to clamp this metal in between these 2 bits of steel, and then I should be able to panel beat this lip up that way, okay. Well, that's just about ready to fold this lip over, and this is what it looks like. So just basically need to get the hammer out and tap it until it looks like it matches the other side. So as you can see, that worked out quite nicely. Now the only thing I need to do is I need to put this return lip on the top of it, and all I'm going to do is use a dolly underneath and tap this end round with a hammer, and that should be it about finished. So here's the finished piece, and it came out quite well. In fact, I would actually be happy enough to use this on the car if the other one doesn't turn up. I actually used this pair of grips here to fold this lip around the top and around here, and then finish it off with the hammer and dolly, so it was quite simple. The only problem with this is that I am 4 hours into making this, and I also paid 50 quid for the other part that may or may not turn up. So it wouldn't be a very cost effective way to get one of these panels, but the bottom line is that I now have it, and we can bolt the front together and move on with the project. Well, I forgot to mention that since the last video I was able to get this driver's side door finished. So now I have 2 operational doors and a boot lid, so we're getting on quite well. So we're going to move on to the front here, and I've got a spare headlight here. I'll show you what I'm thinking. So if I had just 2 headlights and I was trying to position them, I have no real idea of where to go, like in or out or up or down or tilted this way or that way. And I'd have to make some sort of brackets for the back of it and some sort of box action frame and mount everything. I think it would take a long time, and it's not really the look I'm going for. I sort of want it, when you open the bonnet, it kind of looks like an original Metro. Not that there's a problem with doing it with box action. A lot of the original cars had a lot of box action in them, but I sort of want it to look like something factory produced, and so this is why I've done it this way. So basically I now have a complete Metro front end, and this means that I now really only have to position one piece. So it should simplify things, but now it's definitely not going to be that straightforward because I need to know how to position it. So I need to know how forward or back it needs to go and how high or low it needs to go. So I think the only way I can do this is to use the bumper as a reference point, but obviously the bumper has no reference point either. So I need to work off the wing, and I need to work out how high or low the front of the wing needs to sit. And I was speaking to a guy who has a YouTube channel called the DIY Tuners, and he's building a Metro 6R4, and he's given me some measurements of his car, of the door relative to the angle of the wing. Okay, so hopefully I'll be able to use those to get the front of the wing sitting in the right position, and allow me to mount the bumper up and in turn mount the front end. Now it does seem like I'm skipping from here to here and not doing anything with this, but I needed to join the dots. You know, I can't start here and work this way and not know where I'm going to end up. I need to, I think I need to mount that piece first and then sort out this mess later on. But the first thing I need to do is to take some more stuff off this. Hopefully I'll be able to keep this ABS pump in place, but these pipes are going to have to go. I think this is just some sort of junction box of such, like a bulkhead connector, and start trimming it down and try and get it all to fit. Well, I decided to take a different approach for this. I tried working off the angle of this wing versus the angle of the door. The problem is the door is it's a different angle here than it is here. It's because it's got a slight curve in it, and so I didn't think that was going to be a very reliable method to use. If I'd known which part of the door was used for the measurement, I could have used it, but what I decided to do instead was I went in and looked at some pictures of Metro 6R4s on the iPad and put a ruler along them, and it turns out that the side skirt, when viewed from the side, is completely level with the bottom of the front bumper. So I figured out that what I was going to have to do is build up the whole side of the car. So I've actually bolted on the wing this time. It's in the right place. I've trimmed down the side skirt. It's in the right place. That's where it's going to be, going to live. And I've used that to put on the front wing. I've checked the height of the arch at the front, the height of the arch at the back, and I've levelled off this front bumper with the same height as the side skirt. So I'm pretty sure the front of this is in the correct position. And I've used, to get the car level, I had to put 5 batteries in the front of it to account for the weight. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that the front of this is good enough to move on with. It's certainly going to be close enough to a genuine 6R4 because I wouldn't imagine all of them are exactly the same from what I can see. So to get this wing on, I have used the original part of the wing rail, and here you can see it on this side. That's all I've saved of the original wing. I'm going to try and work with one wing on it for the time being because I still have that filler neck on the other side, but at some point I'm going to have to take it off, and I think I'm going to try and drain the tank and refill the tank with water. So I think that should hopefully make it safe enough, but if you don't see another video I might have blew up, but I think we should be okay there. So I think the next step is here I'm going to have to fix this wing at the front, put some sort of bracket on here to hold it in place, and then I'll take the front bumper off, use the wing to line up the front end and keep offering up the front bumper until I get it in the right position. Well, I can't really say that I'm surprised that it's a terrible fit, so it's just not going back far enough, so I'm just going to have to keep cutting it. I thought there'd be some way that I could go gently here and ease it in and panel beat the metal to make it work, but I think I'm just going to have to keep cutting it, get it back to where it needs to be. It actually needs to go up a bit too, and see what I'm left with, and then I'll have to make panels to fill it in probably, but we'll be able to sort something out. This here bit here is very, like, I don't know, this is not an attractive look here, so we'll have to work out something to do with this here. Well, believe it or not, I've been messing with this for a day now, and just couldn't get my head around it. I ended up having to split the whole front end apart, back down to the front panel and the headlight panels, and try and fit them up individually. Just couldn't seem to get anywhere with it. I was fitting up the front panel and I was trimming back the chassis legs to try and get the bumper to match up with the wing here. As you can see, it's still not right, okay? And I just thought I'd stop and I would check to see if the headlight's in the right place. So I fitted up one of these, and after a bit of messing about, I've actually got the headlight in the right place. Okay, and the headlight lines up with the front panel, or so the headlight panel lines up with the front panel, so it was suggests that both of these is in the right place. The headlight's in the right place, but the bumper is still sitting the way out. Now, I got so confused here that what I actually went and done was looked at another guy's Metro 6R4 that he's building, and what I've realised is that his car has the bumper cut out here, okay, and I've seen another couple of cars like that, so I'm assuming that basically meant to trim this down so that the bumper fits in flush, and that would make sense. So that's probably what I'm going to have to do. But I think what I'm going to do now is to try and get these headlight panels in place, lock them in, and satisfy myself with that. Concentrate on the front panel, and then just do whatever I have to do with the bumper to make it suit my own needs. I think I don't think I want to cut the whole lip away, but I do need to get it back here. So I think I'm going to try and bring it back and maybe try and put more of a curve into the bumper. I'm not so sure whether it's meant to be like that, but I think at this stage I'm just going to basically make the car what I want it to be. and try and line it up as best I can. Well, as you can see, it's starting to look a good bit better, but there's still something not just quite right about it, and I couldn't put my finger on it. So I took a day away from it here, and I went back to basics and had a look at the headlight. And as you can see, it's basically a right-angled block with an angled piece of glass on it. Now, as obvious as that sounds, but it seems to me logically that the back of the headlight should be completely vertical, and if you were to run a imaginary line from one side to the other, the backs of the two headlights should intersect, and at the minute they're not, and I think that's where my problem is. And if you think back to it, at the time when these were made or designed in the late 70s, cars would have had round headlights, or a lot of them would, and you actually could have bought a Metro with oval headlights, and the headlight would have been the same on either side, it just had a different plastic ring around it. So it stands to sense to me that these headlight panels need to be straight, and that's where the problem is. If you put an angle gauge on them, you can actually see that they're tipped back, okay? So that's definitely an issue. If you look at the grille here, it is between the bonnet and the grille, it's bowed down the middle. Now I think there is an issue with the bonnet, and it's also bowed down here on the bumper. I think there's issues with these fiberglass panels, but it's not as bad as what it looks. And you put the angle gauge on the number plate mount in on the front panel, it's angled back as well. And so I think what I need to do is to basically pull this steel panel in at the bottom, okay? And I think that's going to solve a lot of my issues, and it needs to be complete. The two headlight panels need to be completely straight from one side to the other and vertical. And I think if I can achieve that there, the rest of it I'll be able to work around, and at least I'll know the headlights will be in the right place. So what I'm going to do is take the front panel off, and I'm going to use a bit of angle iron and clamp the two headlight panels to it and bolt it all up in place like that and lock it in. I might even put a couple of tacks of weld on it, and then offer it up to the car and just keep trimming away at the lower part of the car until I can get it sitting vertical, and that should be it in place. Well, I went ahead and bolted this all up and put a few tacks in various places, and I've also put some brackets into the back of it here. Now these are just made oversize, and once I get this into place, I'll tack these onto the end of the chassis legs, and then I'll trim them down afterwards. But I should have done this days ago. So now this whole front panel is very rigid, and there's no real chance of it going out of shape. I guess at the start I was trying to leave everything so that I could adjust it, and it was too flexible. I just didn't really know where to put it, but now I know everything's in the right place. This should be a good bit easier. Well, I've actually spent a full day at this since the last clip, and yeah, it took a while. But the front is finally fitted, and I'm pretty sure the headlights are in the right place and at the right angle, so everything should work out okay. Now, as you can see, the front tub is hanging lower than the front panel of the Metro, and I'm not too worried about that because the bumper is lower, and then there's a splitter which is lower again, and that should and will cover it, and so that'll be fine. Now, I put a fold along the edge here using a hammer and dolly, and it's a wee bit wrinkled, but once I weld this piece in, I'll be able to straighten it out. It's just if you try and straighten it out now, it would all warp up and down because there's too much material. This piece here, I need to put some holes in it and use a dimple die to recess the holes just to make it a wee bit less agricultural looking, but that'll be going on there. And one thing to note here is that a couple of people had said that basically to avoid things like this here, I would be safer fitting the suspension of the Porsche just into the Metro shell and not using the boxster chassis. But right in behind here is the cradle of the Porsche, okay, and it sits at this height, and the suspension arm sits at this height, and the wheel sits here, And this all has to work together. So basically, if I was to lift this cradle higher up, the suspension arm would sit at a different angle, and basically it wouldn't handle right. So no matter what way you would go about this cradle would have to sit here in relation to the body shell. So it really wouldn't make any difference in my opinion. So we'll take a look at this here, and you can see we've got quite a nice fit. I've put some flanges on it here and down there, and I've cut it. It fits nicely in here, and down at the bottom, it's a pretty nice fit. It should weld together okay. I actually took a bit of time at this, a lot more than I'd planned, but I did panic that I'd cut too much off the front whenever I had was trimming the front down to try and match the bumper in. So I just took my time, and that's how it worked out. So this area here is pretty nasty looking, and I think the only thing I can do with I need to fill it in some way. So I've made this piece here. It's going to go like so. Right now, the one problem with this is that it basically looks like a flat sheet of steel, and that's because that's what it is. I don't particularly like that. So I've decided that I'm going to try and put some detail in it, and I've marked out a pattern here on this side, and I'm going to try and show you what I'm going to do with this here, and hopefully it's going to make sense. So we'll take this over to the bench. So basically this is all made out of scrap, and I know you could do this with a bead roller. I'm not so sure maybe you could get the corners so tight on it, but you could do something with a bead roller. But listen, I decided today that this is getting done, so I think if you're going to make excuses that you can't do something because you don't have something, you're just not going to get very far. So it's getting done today. So this is the piece I've cut out, and then the workpiece will go like this, and there's another piece goes on top of it like so, right? And then I'm going to put another bit of steel here. There's another bit of steel here. I'm going to put nut and bolt through here. And then there's a clamp going to go here. I'm going to put vice grips here and here. And then this is going to go in the middle, right? And then I'm basically going to just whack it with a hammer. And that should put an indentation into this panel and leave it like a nice little feature, like it would be on a sort of factory produced car. So we'll give this a go here. Well, that's just another step closer, and I must say I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. It certainly exceeded my expectations, and for just using a few bits of scrap lying about, it came out pretty well. I've actually fitted up the pieces from the Porsche front tub, and I've trimmed them down a bit to fit, and I'll need to take the lettering off here and stuff, but I think once it's painted up here and these are all fitted in, it should look pretty OEM. Now I don't know what I'm going to do back here yet, whether I'm going to cover this or not. I suppose it depends. I think if I get rid of the air conditioning, it might look okay, but if I do keep the air conditioning, I think I'm going to have to cover it. So we'll decide later on. What I also probably might do is, once I've got the bonnet fitted, I might extend this lip higher up so that it basically comes up to the underside of the bonnet, and then I'll put a rubber trim around it. Okay, so that'll seal the back piece off. So basically the air should come in through the radiators and vent up through the bonnet, but we'll worry about that bit later. And since I had that die already made, I decided I was just going to use it on this tub piece at the bottom. So it wouldn't be the shape that I would choose to put down here, but since I had it, I used it. So I just used the same die that I had, flipped it over, done the other side, and this piece here, I made a square out for the base piece, and I used the rest of the bits that I had for this to go on top, pressed it in, and then flipped it 180 degrees, and then done it again, and that's how I got the square. So for not a lot of effort, it came out okay, and I think once I've got it welded in, seam sealed round, filled along the top, it should look okay, but you'll have to take my word for that. But I think we just need to look at this bumper now. So we need to look at this bumper here, and I'm not too sure if I've shown this in some clips earlier, because it's been about 5 days that I've been doing this video now. So, but basically, this is the problem here. So it's out here against the wing, and yet at the grille, it hasn't got that much further to go in. Now, the grill does seem to sit out over the front of this body line slightly, but I don't think I want it that way. So I'm going to have to try and deal with this somehow. And if you come down here and notice, it's actually got a bow. This center section is bowed down, okay? Now, basically, I have tried here, I've tested this already. So if I can jack this center section up till it's level, it actually pulls, it basically comes like this, and it pulls the middle section of this bumper out by 20 mil. So this is what I need to do. I need to try and get this pulled up the way. And from what I've heard and what I've been told, you can heat fiberglass up. And now I've worked with fiberglass a lot and hadn't heard about this before, but apparently if you can heat it up to its basically starts to I don't know, melt as such, you can bend it, and once it cools it should hold its shape. So what I'm going to do is put bits of wood across the bumper, and then I'm going to use a scissor jack and another bit of wood, and I'm going to try and jack the middle bit up and heat it all up, and hopefully it's going to stay in place. But it might take a few goes. It might even destroy the bumper, but I can't leave it like this anyway. So no matter what happens, I need to do something with it. Well, that's certainly a good bit better. I heated it up yesterday and left it overnight to cool, and it's definitely a lot better shape now. It's straight along the grill, and it's pulled the middle of it out 20 mil. So it's pretty decent-ish fit now. There's still a lot of work to do to it in places, but it's certainly workable now, so I'm happy with it. And just before I show you anything else, we'll have a look at this tub. It's actually only hanging down 30 mil below the bumper, which is less than I thought. So the 75mm splitter, I think it is, should cover that just fine, so I'm not really worried there at all. Now, this is what it looks like from above. Now, this is a wide angle I've got on this, so it's maybe not the best way to show you, but it is more level with the bumper here. Now, it's still got a little bit further to go. Now, to get it back this far, I actually cut a slice in it here underneath the headlight and over here, and that allowed me to pull it back further. I think what I'm going to have to do is, if I can't get it back any further, I might have to cut a slice in the wing and pull it out to match it. And also, it's tipped the corner of this bumper in, so I might have to cut a slice inside the bumper and pull it out that way. But it's not too bad. And this is basically all I had to cut out of the front of the bumper there, instead of like cutting it out the whole way to this body line. So, yep, I'm happy with that. Now, wait till you see this for a bit of luck. I can hardly believe it. So I went and got all the plastic trim that I had from the Porsche, and I cut a tiny bit out of it up near the window, and it all fits. So that's pretty much sorted all that area. Like yeah, I think I'm pretty much going to leave it like that. Well, I'm actually pretty glad that I've done the front end. For a long time it basically felt like I had a hacked up chassis and a load of parts duct taped onto it, and it wasn't really a car anymore, whereas now I kind of feel like I kind of have something resembling a Metro 6R4. So it's definitely been a good episode for morale. Also, you probably note that I haven't actually welded anything in place yet. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. I want to be able to take the car outside, and I want to stand back and look at it for maybe a day, and make sure that I haven't missed something, make sure that everything's in place. And secondly, I still need to be able to lift this body shell up to be able to weld around the top of the roll cage. So that roll cage, that's the elephant in the room at the minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start onto it, and I'm going to save up the footage so that when it's done I can do an episode on the roll cage from start to finish. But in the meantime there might maybe be another episode or two, and I could even do a bit of bodywork. I'm at the stage where we could do things like that. And I know that most people don't show that much of the bodywork, but how much of it do you want to see? Do you want to see it in detail? Do you want to see each bit of it, or do you just want a couple of bits and then the rest glossed over? So you let me know what you want to see in the comments. And if you like the video, feel free to like it and subscribe and come back next time.